Hello and welcome back to SiGMA TV. In this exclusive interview, I am joined by one of the leading market players in the gaming industry, specifically the growing world of esports. Founder and CEO of Esports Entertainment, Grant Johnson, is joining me on the line. Grant, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all ours. And Grant, let me just say, the rise of EEG has been nothing short of extraordinary. You have been on the top of the game since 2020, and we want to know how this happened. But before we jump into it, could you take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your background, and how EEG has grown over the number of years since its foundation?
Sure. As you said, my name's Grant Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Esports Entertainment Group. My journey in the gaming industry actually dates way back. I'm embarrassed to say almost to 1996.
The year that I was born.
Yeah. Thanks for underlining that. But right at Genesis when it all started, and I was involved with one of the original big three. There was Micro Gaming, Boss Media, and StarNet back in the day. And we launched 23 companies online, and that was the early days. It was a bit of a wild west back then. I left the gaming industry in '99 and became back interested in 2014. I was asked to do some consulting work with some tribes here in Canada about setting up a regulatory framework. In the course of that contract, I became aware of esports for the first time. I mean, video game play, I had a television set back in the 70s, so I've been playing video games most of my life, but I was unaware of the phenomenon. I just heard little bits and pieces about esports, and Ken Silva, who is the founder of Esports Canada, and actually is one of our senior managers here now, he said, listen, we could talk about esports forever, but you've got to come see it to understand it. And I went to a StarCraft championship in 2014, and I thought I was going to go be watching a bunch of teenagers playing video games, and I was, as everybody, when they first see it, surprised that it was 5,000 20-something-year-olds, very engaged, and I was blown away by the energy, the enthusiasm. I said, this is going to be huge. I went back and told the groups, the tribes I was working with, that this is where they have to focus their energies. They passed. I could not resist the attraction of the sector. And so we shook hands, parted ways, and I started the company in 2015. I'd like to say it was a brilliant rise to where we sit today and a straight path. It was not. It was anything but. We had a lot of missteps in the beginning, getting our capital organized, getting our structure done, getting the vehicle that we were going to do this transaction through organized, and that took years. And we struggled until I think the real kickoff point for the company was the spring of 2018, when the Supreme Court in the States agreed that online gambling was going to be legal in the US in jurisdictions that had the proper regulatory framework. Everything changed at that point in time. And I was in New York, and I was actually in the Jay Gunner office, and because I had been in the process of moving the company to Canada, and they said, no way this deal goes to Canada. This is a NASDAQ deal. We want it. And that's when things really kicked off for the company. Of course, we were already and primed and doing our roadshow when the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. So again, nothing worthwhile is ever easy, I guess, is the old saying. And we were on the roadshow in February and early March of 2020. Looked like we were going to be oversubscribed. Pandemic hit. League started to get shut down, and I made the call to leave the States, get back over the border into Canada. 48 hours later, the borders were closed. And then the Russians and the Saudis and the capital markets fell apart, and all the investors, all the institutional investors pulled out. And we had to rebuild the book retail remotely. And that was some heavy lifting. But we got it done, working with the teams at Jay Gunner mainly, and Maxim, of course. And we went effective on the NASDAQ April of 2020. We were the first iGaming company, period, to list on a major US exchange, even beating DraftKings, in fact. So it was a huge task. At that time, we were doing about 100,000 in revenue and had 11 staff. So from April 2020 to August 2021, we've grown from 100,000 in revenue to 100 million. We've grown from 11 staff to, as of today's date, 255. We went from 1 tier 3 license to 6 tier 1 jurisdiction licenses, including Malta, UK, Ireland, Sweden, Spain, and New Jersey. Our application been accepted. We're in the final days here before we go effective in New Jersey. When we do, we will be the first esports gambling platform. I believe, yes, we will be, in fact, the first licensed esports betting platform in North America.
Well, thank you so
it's
much.
Been quite a trip.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Very inspiring story, very inspiring growth. Just based on what you said, 2021 has certainly been a busy year for EEG with huge milestones, including the NASDAQ IPO and multiple mergers and acquisitions over the last 12 months. So could you outline some of the goals you've achieved this year?
Well, yes. Over the past, this year specifically, we had a number of major acquisitions. The first of which, over my shoulder, Lucky Dino, which is a brand focused mostly in the Nordic regions. It's a brand known to many in the iGaming space. $30 million a year in revenues, $5 million in EBITDA. We made that acquisition in the first quarter. That was a huge jump forward in revenues for the company. We did a financing at $15 a share. Was immediately subscribed as overnight close. We did it in 24 hours. Shortly or quickly on the heels of that, we did a transaction for some of the most unique assets in the esports space, which is GG Circuit, which is largely regarded as the gold standard for software infrastructure for running physical esports centers. I believe if you include all the colleges and the European centers that run up GG Circuit, there's 1,000 centers and 2 million people that use the GG Circuit software. So they're part of our company. With that same transaction came Helix Sports, and Helix Sports was founded by Jack and Murphy Vandervelde. The reason, and we looked at a number of different centers. We've talked to GameWorks and SiGMA and Amuka. There was a large Simplicity. There was a large number of groups we looked at. What we liked about Helix was well run, profitable, and very creative team. But they had an esports center that was physically attached to Patriot Place. So it was the only existing large gaming center attached to a traditional sports venue. That became a key component for us. And bundled in was Genji Analytics. Now, Genji Analytics, they do and have done all the analytics for the 2K League. William Collis and Paul Gavin, who are the two key people there, are brilliant mathematicians, and they've come up with and been instrumental in some of the products we've introduced recently, which is our cryptocurrency product, the Lando product, which we're going to be rolling out shortly, which is a player versus player betting platform. They have algorithms that help get tighter lines on esports events. And it's just going to be a huge component of our B2B strategy. We work with the casino. So those three assets were acquired April, and it took a little longer to close BetHard, which closed in July, but that added another 30 million in revenues and another 3.5 million in EBITDA. So when we bundle all that together, that's what allowed us to adjust our guidance for this fiscal year to between 100 and 105 million, which makes us by far the largest company of our kind in our space. So it's been exciting and busy and stressful and every other descriptor you can come up with.
Exactly. It's really exciting. It's really amazing everything that's happening for you. And so what are the factors that help you grow in the last year? What do you think is the biggest growth areas in your company?
Well, the key factor for growth is having good people at the end of the day. I mean, no company can be successful without quality staff, and I put our staff against anybody's. Our programmers, I believe we have 65 programmers on staff, because we're a technology company. So it's all based on the strength of that. And then after technology, having the execution expertise. So, some of our people, Magnus and Ken, have from DreamHack and ESL, have run some of the biggest, organized events in esports, on the, Bet Hard and Lucky Dino. These are companies that started well after some of the big iGaming companies started, and they were in highly competitive markets, and they still managed to become highly profitable in a very short period of time. That's the kind of expertise you want to acquire. Sport Nation got to break even in the UK in 5 years in the most hotly contested market for sports betting. So these assets were targeted by us for acquisition, not just because they do bring technology, they do bring players, they do bring revenues, but the fact they've got that grit factor, that they were able to become profitable in a highly competitive market. So that's what we look for when we make these acquisitions. So it's the people that do that. So once you have the people, then you're able to execute. In our execution, because of the assets we've been able to acquire, clearly we've grown faster through M&A. We're going to continue to do that. When a unique asset is presented to us, we work with a number of different brokers in the space, and we get a lot of first looks. We've turned down a lot of companies, and we're still looking at a lot of companies. But really where we're getting some growth now is just the synergies of connecting all the pieces, being able to market esports to the sports book. We found in the pandemic, Sport Nation, 55% of their handle was virtual sports. That was something we didn't know prior to that. So we're taking advantage of that now. Sportsbook and casinos naturally work together. So our cost of client acquisition we're driving that down by just gaining the efficiencies. On the GG Circuit side and Helix, one of the big growth factors we have now by having these assets is we now have a unique cluster of B2B products. As you see over my other shoulder, we're very proud to be working with these brands. These are the biggest brands in North American sport, most definitely. NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, particularly the NFL. They don't take chances with their brands. These are multi-billion-dollar brands that are owned by billionaires. You would have to call these smart money. And there's a reason they partner with us. We've never called any of these franchises. They call us because they know we have the best software. We're transparent. We're on the NASDAQ. We have tier 1 licenses. There are no other esports companies that have tier 1 licenses. That, outside of banks, online gambling is the most regulated industry in the world, as you're well aware, being in the gaming business yourself. So that gives us a lot of credibility with these teams. So we've got this B2B solution we can provide for them, tournament platforms for their fans. They know their fans play video games. They know their players play video games. We noticed that in the pandemic. They took their athletic gear and they took their game boxes into the bubbles. You've probably seen some of the videos that the Broncos and the Ravens and the Chargers most recently put out. Those are their players. Those are very, those are very realistic. Mm-hmm. And some of the pro players have millions of followers on Twitch TV. So this is bringing that convergence of sports and esports. And then we've got the expertise from Helix, how to bring these physical gaming centers to these big sporting venues. That's another thing these teams want. They all want it. And last but not least, other additional revenue streams. That's where LANDuel comes in. This is the player versus player. I'm going to play you. We're going to play Madden. We're going to play Mario Karts. We're going to play Fortnite. It doesn't matter what we're going to play. We want to play each other. We're going to bet $1, $5, $10. Winner takes the purse. House takes a commission. That's not gambling. It's betting. It is over 18, but it does not require a gambling license. So these are all the extra pieces we can bring to these relationships with these sports teams. They love it. They're all about having products for their fans. We have that turnkey solution. They don't have to deal with 4 different companies, one company. We have it all vertically integrated. So now that we have that, just executing, and clearly it's happening. The other big vertical we're working with right now, which would be more in sync with a lot of your clients, is the B2B solution for casinos. Land-based casinos have been trying to figure esports. What is it? How do we work with it? How do we bring it in? To bring esports into a casino to date has most been either they bring a tournament in, people come see it, and then they leave the casino. The casinos, that's interesting, but that's not really a big driver for them. Or they bring in a bunch of gaming rigs, people come in, they play, but that's kind of like an arcade. That's not what casinos are all about. So between Vi and the tournament and EGL online, we can bring people online. Vi has the esports book component to it, which casinos, of course, like. And then we have the in-house, what keeps people in the casino buying food and bev, lodging, is the LANDuel product. They come in, they play in the gaming units, they're betting against each other, and they're engaged, they're in the casino, they're spending money in the casino. So we have that product. Because of that, we've been very successful in forming a relationship with IGEA, which is the Indian Gaming Esports Association here in North America. It's a subset of NIGA, which is the National Indian Gaming Association, which represents 50% of the North American casino industry. And we are their esports partner. So we're honored and excited about that. That story is yet to be told. We haven't yet rolled out LANDuel. LANDuel, we anticipate rolling out hopefully sometime September. It could drift into October because there's a lot of regulatory issues involved with this. But we will be having our inaugural event in Atlantic City in New Jersey this fall, most definitely. And we're excited about that. And that's going to kick off our B2B for casino industry discussion. So all those things are taking place. So it's never a dull day around Esports Entertainment Group, that's for sure.
All right, thank you so much, Grant. And on the topic of Malta, we're incredibly excited to have you as our speaker. Talk to us on what you'll be speaking about and what the attendees can expect from your talk.
Yeah, I think the topic I'm most interested in, that may be most relevant to that event, SiGMA, is how esports is a valuable add-on for casinos and casino operators. It's it's been around for decades. I mean, esports isn't new. It's just new to most of the world. And COVID kind of raised the profile, but it's been around for a long time. And now casinos, online and more land-based, are looking at very seriously how do they bring it into their operations, because they don't understand it. Largely, they don't understand it. So we look to be the partner that shortens that education curve for them, particularly the land-based operators. Of course, we want to be their B2B solution. We want to run their physical centers for them. We'll participate in the revenues with them. The online operators, I guess they've got to make a decision. Do they want to try and go it alone, or do they want to work with a company that's got a proven tech stack that works, and that is going to be, it's not owned by some well, how can I say this without being offensive to some operators? We're very transparent. Everybody knows the ownership structure. That's not always the case with a lot of technology providers. You don't really know who is behind the curtain pulling the strings. In our case, you know exactly who's here. We have to report. We're audited. So if you got to make a decision to work with a tech company, that at least it's good to know who you're working with. So I'd like to focus my conversation on that. I'm not looking to create competitors, that's for sure, but we are looking for partners, most definitely.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're so pleased to have had this opportunity to talk and support your progress, Grant, and we look forward to many more milestones in EEG. So thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you in November.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. And to our viewers, catch Grant Johnson at the Malta Week from the 16th to the 19th of November. SiGMA Group is bringing its 4 leading shows together for the Mother of All conferences for the first time ever. So don't miss out. To know more information, you can head on to sigma.world, and we'll see you there.